It seemed like an impossible task, a week ago, but the Twins are over 500 for the first time all season. They've won 8 in a row after feasting on the Red Sox, Orioles, and Giants. They've even won 4, count them, one-run games in that span. If you already thought the Twins were repeating 2024 all over again, it's really beginning to look like a clone job now. But don't think about it too much and just get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Love that theme song. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team, yours, pointing at you every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who often repeats his dad jokes and tweets, even if it's not necessarily the same thing. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warren, who keeps his haircut on repeat every Friday about 9:30 a.m. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can't find us at Puckett's Pond anymore because it evaporated because of climate change, but there's always Access Twins and zone coverage. On the podcast this time, the Twins have won 8 in a row, don't you know, and are over 500. Is this season starting to remind anyone of 2024? Because I looked it up, and there's a little bit of a similarity. Deshaun Kersey Jr. got the game-winning hit in the 10th inning Sunday, and I don't think the Twins could have been any happier if it had gone any other way. Royce Lewis started the season 0 for 15 after missing 51 days with a hamstring injury, but he came to bat with the bases loaded in the 6th inning, and something the opposite of 0 for 15 happened. And as Harry Carey always said, what about the pitching? Well, it's been mostly splendiferous from 1 to 13, maybe with 1 or 2 exceptions, Jorge Alcala. But first, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Do it now. Do Monarch Money and do it now. So, Brandon, one thing I noticed yesterday was that everybody was really extra happy that the Twins won the game. I think because it was Deshaun Kersey who got the game-winning hit. He seems like a likable guy. He comes from an interesting background, but I think what he brings to the team in terms of personality, work ethic, trying to be there when he comes in a lot of high pressure, high leverage situations late in the game, pinch running, defense, that kind of thing. They don't pinch hit for him with him very much, but he got the big hit, he got the last hit, he got the game-winning hit, and everybody's like, God darn, I love this kid. He got the game-winning hit. I couldn't be happier for it. And that was like my Royce Lewis. Kersey proving himself to be a valuable player, and you need 1 through 26 to get through this season, don't you?
Yeah, certainly a game of streaks being snapped. Royce Lewis 0 for 36 dating back to last year. Deshaun Kersey Jr. 0 for 17. And so to have both those snapped in the same game and to come at just pivotal times. Lewis, of course, like you said, bases loaded, so why wouldn't he come through? And then Kersey basically just flipping I think it was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in, and he just kind of flipped it out into left field. And that was the one place Elliot Ramos couldn't hurt the Twins was by getting to that ball and having to play at the plate. So he in a series where they got swept, I'm not sure I've ever seen a player more pesky than Elliot Ramos. Glad to see him get out of town. But in general, just a wonderful homestand, wonderful stretch. Twins haven't lost since the first game in Boston. 7-8 wins in a row makes 1 week. No, I'm kidding. It's like the old church thing. 7 days without prayer makes 1 week. Yeah, you've probably heard that before and just don't remember.
Yeah, sure.
In general, though, really hard not to be enthused. Dang it, Bobby Nightingale had stats on the bullpen and how nails it has been. Probably not coincidental that we didn't see. I don't think we saw any of Jorge Alcala in the entire series because the games were too close. Twins playing 1-run games. Twins have won 4 straight games in which opponents have scored first. They had played 19 games where they had given up the first runs. How many of those do you think they had won, Dave?
None.
Also 4.
Oh.
They were 4-15. So not being down and out, giving up runs early, I think, what did that apply to? Was it 2 of 3 games against the Giants, I think? I'm not sure. Either way, between 1-run games and not being down and out when the opponent scores first, things are looking, up in a better direction. We'll see how they handle Baltimore in Baltimore. And then it's Milwaukee. I know Cleveland's coming up. So, I mean, if you would have told me that they were going to take care of business in Boston and then sweep the next 2 series, I would have been like, against the Giants, I don't know about that one. But I think that's where you almost have to be like, okay, get excited about them a little bit, because the Giants are a damn good baseball team. They may not hit all that well at times, but their bullpen is nasty. Hayden Birdsong's nasty. Randy Rodriguez is nasty. Camilo Duval is nasty. Tyler Rogers, I don't know how anybody ever gets a hit off him. And they beat Logan Webb, who is one of the 3 to 5 best pitchers, if not just the NL, maybe in all of baseball. So impressive run, and really putting a button on it with sweep and now a day off so that their bullpen is in good shape heading into Baltimore, which, we'll see how much they're needed. If the Twins can hit and the Orioles pitch like they have, there's a good chance that they could extend this to a few more games.
The Orioles took 2 out of 3 from the Angels after getting out of town from Minnesota. So I don't know if they're back on the schneid or whatever. I have a feeling, just the way baseball goes, that it's going to be a little tougher this time around than it was. And maybe not for any reason in particular other than just timing and things playing themselves out. That's baseball.
Putting the aura back in Orioles.
I suppose.
The boys in the chat would be proud of that reference, by the way.
Maybe if you say so.
Yeah.
No, you're possibly correct. I just saw, the Orioles have that funny thing they do during the national anthem. The fans, when they say, "Oh," say, "Can you see?" I just saw did you know that, by the way? It didn't look like you noticed.
I was unfamiliar.
Well, they do. If you've ever been to an Orioles game, even when they're on the road, when the Star Spangled Banner gets to an "oh" point, like at the beginning and then later, the fans go "oh" as in Orioles, and someone is writing that is disrespectful and unpatriotic. So that is an actual story in the newspaper. And the person rolled their eyes that I saw about that too. So if we could take over, the Twins could we talk about the Ethics Bowl. The Twins could win the Ethics Bowl because Twins fans tend to be quiet during the national anthem, which I think you probably should be. Orioles fans tend to just yell out the nickname for the team all of a sudden. So I think not only should the Twins win on talent, but they should win on ethics and morals and propriety and respectfulness as well. So I think they have all that going for them into this series in Baltimore. Just don't be startled. Don't be startled when the Orioles fans go, "Oh!"
I think their pitching was more disrespectful than their.
Hey,
yeah, no, it's I've only seen they got Cade Povich going against SWR in the opener, and I mean that's a guy the Twins should handle. Their offense still dealing with injuries, of course, but less so now with Royce Lewis back. Should be fairly well equipped to take on Povich, the left-handed starter. And then we'll see how it goes from there. I'll have to look up the other matchups. I feel like Aaron Hicks right now. I don't know who the starting pitcher is today.
I think the Orioles have to look them up because they're always they have not had a lot of luck with their starting pitching so far, and they don't always know who's going to pitch the next day.
Well, the Twins will miss out on Corbin Burns because he doesn't pitch for them anymore, which is good.
You've really researched this.
No, I'm kidding. Cade Povich, Dean Kramer. I think between Kramer and Logan Webb, those are like 2 of the best opposing opponents, opposing starters as far as effort that the Twins have seen recently. So that'll be a challenge. Again, I think he's lying about being right-handed. I still haven't figured out.
Kramer.
I still don't know who that was that you used to insist was lying about being right versus left-handed. And then Tomoyuki Shugano. I'm not sure if I'm saying that exactly correctly, but the Twins will miss out on Zach Eflin and Kyle Gibson. Now, Gibson, after getting knocked around by the Yankees, who knows? Obviously no spring training is kind of tough. Still not really sure why he wasn't signed. But then again, I think Shigano has been fairly decent and maybe a bit of a bright spot in an otherwise dismal rotation. Yeah, 2.72 ERA. FIP and everything else, not really loving him, but no strikeouts.
Not a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah,
not a lot
no
of
strikeouts, no walks, and grounder-ish. He's been a ground ball guy relatively close to league average. Although, you know what? I realize I don't know what the league average rate is in NPB, because in MLB it's roughly 45%, but maybe in Nippon baseball it's higher or lower. I don't know for sure.
Maybe you can, while we go on our commercial break, you can get out your slide rule that has the NPB calculations in it. I know you have that one.
I bet there's someone who could help us, but nevertheless, we shall be right back. And if you're looking for a way to take control of your finances, and frankly, who isn't in these times, checking your bank account, wondering where all your money went. That happened to me today after going to Sam's Club. So between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track of where those pennies go. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, but it's also a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you're not just managing your money, but building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I was spending on food delivery, which is a terrifying thing. Now, I budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and make long-term plans for your financial future. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKDOWNMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKDOWNMLB, and you'll get half off your first year.
Locked On Twins has returned. Brandon and Dave talking about the Twins' 8-game winning streak and the Orioles coming up again so soon. I mean, why not a longer Orioles break, I say.
No, for real. Before the Orioles fly south, though, I guess.
I think they've already flown south. I think they can't get any further away from home in a figurative sense than they are now. So
I don't have a lot of hope for them either. I just don't. The pitching is just they need pitching help, and you'll see there was I think Ralph had an article in The Athletic about who they might trade for pitching wise, and it was somebody pretty good. Not Pablo Lopez, although I've seen lots of proposals for him because for some reason Yankees fans haven't been paying attention to the Twins and the fact that they're winning. I don't think it was Zach Gallen, but it was a pretty dang good pitcher that they thought the Orioles might go after. And I mean, if we're fair, they could trade Kobe Mayo or maybe Heston Kjerstad. I don't think they're going to do that, but they still have a fairly decent cachet of prospects to move if they want to make a move like that. My bigger issue is, does one starter really move the needle that much?
No, I was thinking about this, and this is not Locked On Orioles, but I was thinking about this because I've got 7 places where I write things. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I was going to write was maybe they need – remember when the Braves lost their entire outfield and then in 2021, and then they went out and they got Eddie and they got Soler, and they made wholesale changes, added 4 guys.
Well, and Rosario was horrible, and then he goes to the Braves, and wasn't he World Series MVP or one of the playoff series MVPs?
Something like that. Maybe it was an LCS, but
classic Eddie Rosario. When the moment gets big, Eddie Rosario would get big too.
Well, long story short, that's really what the Orioles need. They need a transfusion. They need 3 pitchers. They don't need, of substance. They don't need, and probably more. One guy is not going to make a difference, and I just can't see. I mean, maybe Mike Elias, their GM, will pivot, but he seems to be, and we're talking about the Orioles too much.
Yeah,
but he seems to be stuck on them. We're going to develop our own player. Maybe it's because the moves that he has made, for the most part, have backfired. I mean, that could be it too. He could be
Yeah.
afraid. I mean, they brought in Eflin last year, and he worked out. But there's been lots of other players where the Kyle Stowers trade, Connor Norby trade for Trevor Rogers, that didn't work. And so I mean, and there were other ones too.
I mean, maybe you go back to the Marlins for Alcantara and someone else, but nevertheless,
assuming you think I mean, I thought Alcantara's throwing about 98, so
I think he
will too.
I don't think that. Yeah, I mean, I would if the Twins decided they need another starter, which Lord knows they don't. I mean, you can always use more, but they're already not finding innings for Zebby and David Festa to especially your Iyer. But that would be the kind of guy I would want to get in the system, do a Pablo Lopez extension with, if that was something he was amenable to, and go from there. But either way, I think Alcantara's on the move at some point, and it just hurts the Marlins that he stinks right now to the extent where they can't really ask for, like a CC Sabathia level trade package or something.
Nothing against Marlins fans, but I don't feel sorry for them one bit. Not the fans, but the organization. So
no, they deserve nothing.
The heck with them. So good. I hope your plans are foiled, evil Marlins people.
Well, if they trade for Alcantara, the Twins won't have to face him because it's not happening in the next 3 days, and they're not playing the Orioles again after this. So,
right. Let's backtrack a little bit. You talked about the state of the how well the bullpen was doing. Bobby Nightingale had a stat, and that stat is, Dave Brown, Twins relievers during their 6-game homestand, all wins versus Orioles and Giants, 21 innings, 2 runs, 1 earned. Thanks, Griffin Jacks.
Yeah, what the heck?
4 walks, 25 strikeouts, good, and an 0.43 ERA. So the bullpen has been good. And further on that note, going back to April 22nd, which is an arbitrary date,
sure it is,
an arbitrary endpoint, but it's after the Atlanta series. It's when they started to play better. Sorry. In the last 18 games, of which the Twins have won 13, 157 innings overall for the pitching staff and a third, 172 Ks, 39 walks, a little high, 130 hits, 2.40 ERA. So that has been we mentioned the bullpen being hot on the homestand since April 22nd. That's the pitching staff as a whole. And, one of those guys is our very own sheriff, Chris Paddock. And I said it like he's going to join us, but he's not. Paddock had an amazing, he's thrown a perfect game or a no-hitter or both into like the 7th or 6th inning the other night in his last start. As soon as I said that, well, maybe they should put him somewhere else, maybe SWR, take him out of
like Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore could use a start. But he's been really good. He's been really good. And it's I don't know. I don't know what to do now. I don't know how you get Festa and Zebby on this team, but unless SWR continues to be kind of Mr. 4 1/3,
you can't be. Runs. You got to be at least 5 and dive. You can't be 4 and no more, because that doesn't fly. And this is a bullpen of guys you're going to dink and dunk with. You're not necessarily going to put Danny Coulomb out there for 2 innings. I mean, you could, but like you said, you're already looking at his innings total and thinking, might be on borrowed time. And yeah, but in general, like the pitching staff, lowest ERA in MLB in the last month plus a few days. And that bullpen, you talked about Jack's giving up runs. He didn't exactly get beat around the park. No. He wasn't throwing strikes, and then he knocked the 1 ball hit that probably would have been an inning-ending double play or a double play all the same. He kind of redirected it into the outfield. Like those are things that happen. It's just the way the game goes sometimes. And then the Twins just regrouped and did what they've been doing for the last week plus. They found a way to get the job done. So it's a total team effort right now.
Kidding. I'm kind of kidding about Jack's giving up.
No, I know you are. I know you are.
He's fixed himself in the long, and I don't mean that in like a spayed or neutered.
Calm down, Bob Barker.
He's better. He's better out there than he was, and he's still. I think he's tweaking a little bit, and I don't mean like with drugs. Tweaking like the details of his arsenal and so forth.
Yeah, he's
the cutter and the sinker. And
the new pitch is alone a reason enough to be like, oh, what's this guy up to? And so it's interesting for sure.
I mean, definitely excited about that. Coulomb, by the way, pitched a shutout inning yesterday. I believe this is Dan Hayes' information. Extended his scoreless streak to 26 in the third innings, which goes back to last year. Although I don't know if it includes the playoffs or not.
Are you aggregating Dan Hayes over the air?
I just gave him credit, so I'm not really aggregating him in that sense.
Good.
But I will complain about him.
Are you aggravating him
in the
instead?
third innings? 26 in the third innings. So that goes back to last year, which we should not do.
Yeah.
We should not be doing streaks that start for, like, especially individuals. Like, I remember one year, Jimmy Rollins came into a season with like a 35-game hitting streak. No, he didn't.
Nah.
It ended in 2007 or whatever it was.
Yeah. That's
I don't like it. I don't like doing it with, especially adding on to all the at-bats that Royce Lewis has gotten outs in. He doesn't need to hear that right now. It's another season. That's another person, as far as I'm concerned. Royce Lewis, he came in 0 for 15, not 0 for 36. Going back to that, you can't do that.
It's like a combined no-hitter.
It is kind of like a combined no-hitter. At least a combined no-hitter is something that happened in the same season, same game even.
I'm kind of wondering when we're going to get a combined perfect game, because that would be hilarious.
Well, I guess that's never happened. I don't.
If you can imagine it, it'll probably happen someday.
Right. Now I got to look it up to see if it really has happened or not. I don't believe it has.
Well, why don't
we
you
would
look
have
it
heard
up?
about it?
Why don't you look it up and I'll read some ads.
I'll go do that.
Well, if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Don't be like me and try to settle for imposter. Don't settle. Wonderful pistachios are where it's at. It's one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, which is over 10% of what you're supposed to get for your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I prefer the ones that are in the shell, but either or, they're both tremendous. Both can serve different purposes, whether you're looking for a quick snack on the go, or even just if you're sitting somewhere and you don't want to eat anything too fatty or too unhealthy, but you don't want to rush through a snack either. You know, if you're sitting out on the front porch, that's a good thing to have for a snack. Also, it's a complete protein. It also has 9 essential amino acids. They pack a protein punch. And again, the no-shell ones, you can carry those around you a little easier. Pop them in your mouth for a good, healthy snack. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. You're muted again, Dave.
The good news is you can edit all that out.
I'm not going to, but yeah, I sure could.
Locked On Twins is back. I was clearing my throat and researching. That's why I was muted.
My wife laughed at you in the other room. I can hear her, so sorry. You want to start over?
Another break here for you to edit out. No,
you want to start over?
No, I don't want to start over. This is good radio theater or podcast theater. Although I do need to remember what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. I already said Locked On Twins is back. Maybe we should edit this out. Locked On Twins is back. I did want to Brooks Lee. We're going to talk about Brooks Lee because we haven't talked about him yet. He went 3 for 5, homering, singling twice, scoring 2 runs. Not only, this is Dan Hayes again, aggregating. Dan Hayes writes, not only did Lee launch a 2-run homer in the 4th inning to get the Twins on the board, but he also opened the team's 2-run rally in the 10th because they were down a run because the robot runner scored, the Manfred man, with a leadoff single. So Brooks Lee, again, I don't know. I'm not ready to look at his lines yet or whatever, or his red versus blue stats even. I like what I see. I liked what I saw last year, even when he was adjusted OPSing 65 or whatever it was. I'm like, I can see it. Whatever it is, the talent is there. And I've been impressed mostly with defense. He's had a couple of plays on defense. He tries to start double plays before he has the ball, and the ball went into right field.
Tries to start double plays, and there's nobody on first base.
No,
he's just trying to do too much. He's just
trying to do too much. It's not that bad. It was just he was a little quick.
Actually, though,
Yeah.
His slash right now, 253, 301, 402. Certainly doesn't feel like anything too great, but that's a 101 weighted runs created plus. So he's above average, and his weighted on base average is 311. His expected weighted on base average is 324. You'll take that 324, or if you can get anywhere close to that, you'd be probably somewhere in the 105, 108 range for WRC plus. And the defense has not been too terribly bad. In general, I think the returns are fairly positive, especially when you consider he had a 62 weighted runs created plus last year. And like you said, I thought he acquitted himself reasonably well offensively last year. Walks, not really there, but he's not striking out. He's making contact. And to that end is why I kind of believe that he can still be an impact hitter. Maybe not a middle of the order guy, but definitely someone you could put first, second, sixth, and be in good shape.
For sure. I think he's probably near his Zips projection. I think it was a little over 100, somewhere between 100 and 105.
94 now. The latest Zips is 94.
Mm-hmm.
Steamer was 105, though, and he's almost right on. He's off by 12 points of OBP and 7 points of slug, which means 105, and he's at 101. So if he hits a double and a homer in the next series, he might get there pretty easily.
Well, let's do it, man. Well, there's more meat on the bone there if we can dehumanize him a little bit even more.
Sure.
I think there's another 10% of something there. So I like him to get to 115. I think that's going to be where Royce Lewis is going to be, at least at his peak. We'll see if he can finish the season.
Royce Lewis or Brooks Lee?
Yeah, Brooks Lee, sorry. Royce Lewis even higher.
Uh-huh.
But Brooks Lee, I meant Brooks Lee 115. I get that. I don't get them mixed up, but sometimes I do have to think, do I mean Brooks Lee or Royce Lewis? Maybe
you are Freudian slipping that they should switch defensive positions. That's possible.
No, I don't think we want Brooks Lee in the middle, Royce Lewis in the middle of the defense. I think I know his throwing isn't great, but
he had a pretty good throw though on that play. Was it I think it was the 10th when the Manfred man came across to score, and it was like a swinging bunt from maybe like David VR. It was a pinch hitter. I think it was VR hitting for Tyler Rogers, which was also an interesting move because I would have gone back to Rogers for the bottom half, and they couldn't, because they had brought in their DH to field, and it all got jumbled up. There were a couple times where I wasn't exactly sure what Bob Melvin was doing because he had a lefty all hot and lathered up and then didn't have him face Larnach. And then he had a righty later in that inning or the next inning and didn't have them face a righty the Twins had coming up too. So Melvin, obviously a very, very good manager and well-regarded and all that. But there were a couple misses there where I was kind of like, not sure about that one.
Well, sometimes the managers get, they're out of NL National League mode because of the DH, and then suddenly a National League scenario, the DH is out of the game, and they get kind of discombobulated from what they got to do. I don't know if that is accurate or if our criticisms are valid, but I get the feeling sometimes it's almost like, oh, I get to do some tactical things. This is great. I'm going to make all kinds of moves, and then what you said happens. So I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe. I also wanted to mention that Rocco Baldelli was ejected Saturday before he even left the dugout.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, well, because of Adrian Johnson's strike zone. And later on, we found out that it was, according to umpire auditors, it was rated the worst called game of the season. So I would like to say, though, that every once in a while you get a game like this and, Rocco stands up for the team and whatever. But the umpires are generally really good. Mm-hmm. And, it's sort of like, you don't know about how the offensive line is doing until there's a holding call or something. Right. Similar kind of analogy to umpires. So It's funny, though, how angry Rocco can get. People think he's robotic or too cerebral or too emotional in a soft sense. But he gets his finger wagging. And you're on the SHIT list.
Even on the finale when he was going over it with was it Quinn Wolcott behind the plate on that pitch that didn't count. That was that was when Kiersey walked it off, right?
Yes. Not
it
long.
was
Yeah, because it was a pitch that didn't it was like a no pitch because the umpire screwed something up. I don't know.
it was like the Golden Gophers run to the Final Four in 97, 98. It never happened.
I vaguely remember that.
Or maybe it was 96, 97. I don't know.
No, it was something like that.
Bobby Jackson.
Carlos Correa did not play. He was scratched. I think he was going to play. And they're like, he's like, I'm feeling tight. I saw that quote somewhere. And not in the music business. Hey, man,
that's 20 years ago, feeling tight would probably mean he would play.
Right. Is it already 20 years?
Probably.
When you're feeling tight, that's dope, yo.
Yep.
Anyway, he's like, wow. I want to play 145 games, which was, I hadn't seen a number put on it before. That's an interesting number. I think that would be great.
It sounds like I really want to lose 3 pounds from Mean Girls.
Oh, jeez. It could happen, though.
Yeah.
Correct, but, Brandon,
yeah,
Correa has appeared in 39 of the Twins' 41 games, starting 38 of them. So you park that opinion about his lack of games, buddy.
I haven't had it. That's a pace for 155. So he's on pace. He's in good shape.
Mickey Gasper has hit 6 home runs in 10 games with the Saints. Two questions. One, is there a 4A league or a 3.5A? And two, can they get rid of Cody Clemens without Roger finding out and then something embarrassing happening?
Yeah, I don't know. Mickey, you want him to do well because he looks like he seems like an affable enough guy. I met him at Twins Fest Live, which was not real Twins Fest. It was the night before Twins. Okay, you know what I mean. Good fella. And the versatility he brings, a little bit more than the other guys in the sense that he could catch if needed. And maybe the Twins are just holding him back. I'm sure there's someone out there that has that opinion, like Carson McCusker and Mickey Gasper, Twins gaming their service time or something funny like that. There's definitely someone out there that believes both of those things, even though neither are remotely true.
Well, the White Sox have brought up their Carson McCusker, Tim Elko, and he hit a home run in his first game. So they have a big, strong, tall first baseman type who is putting up amazing numbers at AAA, and he's done it. So I think that should be the inspiration for the Twins.
Well, that's the stage of their rebuild where you're crying. And I don't mean disrespectfully crying, but like pleading for the team to call up a 26-year-old career minor leaguer. Like I remember those days when Matt Tolbert was crushing it. And actually the Twins were probably a little better then, but they couldn't figure out second base. They signed Mark Grudzielanek during the season. And Matt Tolbert had these great numbers at AAA Rochester at the time. And everyone's like, it's not a thing. And he comes up and he's like 5'6", 180. And could kind of play second base. Sometimes that's just how it goes.
That also sounds like a scouting report for Peyton Eels, like a not nice scouting report on Peyton Eels. So hopefully that's not what happens when he gets healthy and comes back. I think. Yeah,
let's hope. He'd be in the big leagues right now. They wouldn't have Cody Clemens, right?
He would have been. He would have been already. Yes, maybe
that's
on opening day.
Sting like an. Oh yeah.
But yes. And Michael Tonkin, by the way, Tonkin's been trucked. He suffered a setback in his last outing. Tonkin's rehab assignment will be halted because he has tendonitis in his right bicep. So, just the biceps.
It delays what I expected to be a DFA, and I don't mean that casually or anything. But right now, there's really no room in the bullpen. You're not going to DFA Alcala until something else goes wrong. They have enough good arms to cover them, as we have seen the last few days. Alcala can come in when you're up 6-0 in the 9th inning or maybe 8-0, but they're not going to can him just to can him and bring out Michael Tonkin. So not that getting hurt again or having a setback is good, but it keeps his spot on the team until something else happens too.
They could, though, put an SWR in the bullpen. And, actually, then who do they get rid of? I keep running into this problem. I'm trying to get Festa and Zebby on the roster.
And it's like Danny Coulomb. Danny Coulomb is like the only one that doesn't have an option out there. Actually, maybe Brock Stewart, but like you could send down Topa, but what's the point of that? There's no point to that. So
no, that he's pitching too well, and it wouldn't be very nice, and you might stress him out. Seriously, I wouldn't. The way he's pitching, You send him to AAA, it's like, what do I got to do? So,
I mean, he's having a like. I admit I haven't dug into the numbers much. No homers, 7.6 strikeouts per nine, 2.8 walks per nine, 2.08 ERA. The FIP right there. Yeah, you can't send him down unless you can convince Alcala to go down to St. Paul or go over to St. Paul for a little bit, or if he's hurt, you know, little elbow tendonitis or something. I don't care that you broke your elbow, that kind of thing. It's going to be tough to get pitchers in.
The other day, I might be repeating this on the podcast, but the other day when Coulomb came in to finish that game in the 9th inning, that would have been an Alcala game last year or in April. If the bullpen was in the state, you know, that's Rocco would have used him as a closer, but he doesn't trust him to do it. I looked at Alcala's lines, and I think he's had 4 games when he's given up home runs. Do I still have that window open? I do. Let's see.
If you were to say who's the most, he's still on the team guy, I think Alcala has taken that mantle from Jonah Bride, right?
I would say there have been 5 games where Alcala has given up a run or more, and 8 where he is not. So he is capable. I mean, and one game was 1 run and one game was 2. He's had 3 blow-ups where he's been terrible. And really only one of those is in May, and he hasn't pitched since May 6th.
Well, and it's the better question is it better for him to pitch or not to pitch? Like, do you have to pitch yourself out of this thing?
I think he does.
Yeah.
I think one of 2 things has to happen. Rocco has to trust it, just throw him out there again in a leverage situation, because these Coulomb games, they're adding up, and he's never pitched more than 52 innings. And last year he didn't because he had elbow surgery. He had chips in his elbow removed, and I don't mean like, you know, a side for a sandwich.
No ruffles.
So yeah,
here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. SWR is going to have a short start. They're going to be up like 8-4, and they're going to bring in Alcala to clean up that inning. Hopefully,
and that's going to be 9-8.
Yeah, well, it can go one of 2 ways, obviously, but I think that's what's going to happen is he'll throw a marginally impactful inning, but not like life or death inning, and then go from there.
It's going to be a week since he pitched when they resume tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
and that just doesn't work either.
You got to put him in.
Yep.
Or he has to come up with a phantom elbow injury so they can send him down to AAA and work on whatever his command or whatever is wrong. One of those 2 things has to happen soon.
Yeah.
And we want to say, by the way, we want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So we want to say thank you for listening to this one. For Brandon Warren, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening, saying we will Alexei Casilla at some other time tomorrow night.